Okay, we're back to normal. Huh?
Now we have to vote. Show of hands from the
All right,
front.
we are approving, say it again, everyone, so they all hear it.
We are approving
This will be very difficult.
minutes from February 26th, regular meeting, both open and closed sessions as circulated.
All right, Jeanette, you weren't here,
Seconded it.
right, but Andy, you were here. Okay, so we're taking anybody have a comments now? No, we're gonna take a vote. All in favor? Andy?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
We
No,
have
it's unanimous, one abstention, right, we have to have this abstention. Okay, now we can move on. It's all yours, Russell.
Good evening, everyone. First item on my agenda is the shareholder resident questionnaire. I hope everyone has received them at this time. They were delivered to everybody's apartments. Please take time to fill this out. This will help us with our communications with all residents, as well as the future upgrade of the Morningside website, which is also in its infant stages at this time. So please take the time, fill it out. We have the mail slot outside the office that can be dropped off 24/7. And during office hours, there is a box in the waiting room that you can just drop off via forms.
And all of that's gonna be shared with the communications committee, correct? To help them with the website also.
Correct. In collection of the data, we're gonna populate an entire spreadsheet that can be uploaded for the new website as well. We are also in the midst of a parking audit. We are finalizing our details where everyone who does have parking will be required to come in, sign a new parking agreement. This will be done through security, so we can offer this around the clock. It will not only be for office hours. A new sticker will be issued, and approximately 90 days thereafter, we'll focus in on residents who may have stickers and or vehicles that are not registered with the corporation. We're asking for all of just the basic information: driver's license, registration, and insurance. I think these are important information that we need to have on file if you have a vehicle on Morningside's property. Additionally, we are also in the middle of a bike audit, and we're working with Detta All, the chair of the amenities committee. She has taken her time to audit many of the rooms, identify empty spaces. For the bike room, it's also been identified there is not a bike room storage agreement. I've been working with the attorneys to finalize an agreement that if you wanna park a bike in Morningside in one of our bike rooms, an agreement will have to be filled out. Next item, speaking of our corporate counsel, we received notice that our corporate counsel was increasing their rates for 2013. However, after discussion, myself and Dean Roberts, they agreed to keep their rates flat and not increase us for 2013. Capital projects, we have the projected sidewalk bridge removals. Building 2 is currently scheduled to be removed in the middle of April, and building 6, the projected time is in the middle of June. This is mostly due to the weather and this winter not being as favorable as last year's winter, which delayed the time frame, which why we keep pushing this back about 2 weeks every meeting. We are also looking into a permanent tieback solution for the roof, which would allow for future scaffolding drops. Our garage repairs have been completed. There were necessary repairs needed for the garage that would allow us to apply for a certificate of occupancy. All of the information has been supplied to our Bosca, the architect, who is working on that. We should be able to finalize that in the very near future. Our capital insulation project, a project that was approved by the board prior to Cooper Square taking over in 2011-2012 timeframe. It was completed in or around June of 2012. We submitted all of the paperwork and have received a $77,000 rebate check from Con Edison that will be put back into our capital fund. The project itself cost approximately $120,000, so this is a huge return on the outlay and the investment of the corporation. The Thurgood Marshall Community Room, as you can see, I hope you could see, we did a minor facelift, we removed wallpaper, painted the walls. For this, we were closed for a period of time. I do apologize for anybody who may have needed use of the room, but we were working to improve the conditions of some of our community rooms. Our children's playroom, last week, there was a report of rodents being seen. Management took immediate action, closed the room. We had our exterminators start exterminating the room, as well as our maintenance staff closing any holes. We expect the room to be reopened by this Friday. Extermination or bed bugs, management has created and implemented a policy, a procedure on bed bugs and guidelines for our residents. We held a bed bug seminar, as well as Sabrina attended an MGCA meeting to explain this to residents who were interested at the time. At this time, I would like to request and make a recommended motion to the board to adopt our policies and procedures as policy of the corporation. With that said, recommended motion being moved that the board of directors approve the bed bug procedures as policy and the distribution of the bed bug guidelines as requested.
Alfred, you want to?
Do you wanna move it?
I wanna move it and then.
Okay, Alfred moves it. You can have your choice. Okay, it's now moved and seconded. Anybody want to speak to this?
Minor change on page 33.
Oh, you're fine. Okay,
Okay,
She has it, prevented.
Okay, you have it, good, okay.
Yeah. Okay, any, yes, Maitri?
So is this entire package, like the entire attachment would be the policy, or is there, because there was a bunch of stuff in here.
No. The policy is 32 to 34, exhibit 7 is the policy.
That's
That's what that goes out to everybody, that'll be handed out. 35 to 50 is what will be given out when you are in payment.
Okay.
which explains more in detail
Yeah,
what a residential.
No, the rate we're going, it's when.
I mean, I thought there was really good information in here, so I was just wondering how we can disseminate it, because I think it's got really good practical tips, so I was just wondering how much of this would be disseminated to the.
Well, we'll make readily available the first few pages in all lobby racks for all residents. And as Larry said, if somebody does encounter a problem, the full packet will be given to those residents on what they may need to do in their particular apartment.
Yeah, because I think maybe just about the bed bug prevention tips, because I think this is what you do if it happens, and this is what you do to prevent it from
Right.
happening. So I just wonder if it will be helpful when we disseminate it also, because prevention is really.
Include the
key,
tips?
rather than-
Absolutely, yes. That should not be a problem.
People don't know they might be doing something.
Any other comments?
Thank you.
None, hearing none, seeing no hands, can we move to a vote? I think so, all in favor? Andy, Jeanette,
I'm in favor, Jeanette.
Andy? What is that? Oh, it's an aye, okay, because the first time I didn't remember that.
Thank you.
I got worried
Can I
first.
ask, is there a way to move the, speaker to a more centrally located area so that, I can barely hear my, and,
I
She
don't,
needs to use the microphone when she
Then,
speaks.
Maitri will use the microphone, I think you'll hear a little better. Maitri, would you push that button?
Yeah, but,
No,
just in
now.
general, just push it now so that it's ready,
okay.
okay? All right, so we're up to the I believe we're up to the treasurer, right?
Well, the last one I want to discuss in my open session was our initiative for customer service satisfaction. Over the last month, there were 131 in-unit work orders requested. 70 shareholders reported back as satisfied. 61 we're awaiting feedback. Please, if you will also take the time, if you are contacted either via email or a phone message for a repair that was made by our staff, we would greatly appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and hear your experience back. Feedback is very important for us. This is month 3, and so far I think it's a relatively successful project that has helped our customer service and the direction of our maintenance department. So please, your feedback is really appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, John, I think you're up.
pretty straightforward. It moved that the $66,000 contribution to MRHS be dispersed in 6 equal payments of $11,000 for each of the first 6 months of 2013. This motion corrects the motion passed December 18, 2012 board meeting, which incorrectly stated that the 6 equal payments would be $55,000.
$5,500.
$5,500.
Okay.
Good try by us. but-
Yeah.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, Andy seconds it. Any discussion? I think it's straightforward. All in favor? Andy, Jeanette?
Aye. Aye, as well.
Okay, just so you know, Ron Bruno has already thanked us for receiving half the amount that's going to be given to him by June, so he's very ecstatic about that. John?
So last night at the finance committee, meeting, management put forth something that was passed by the committee having to do with parking spaces. The motion reads, I'll read it and we can discuss it a little bit. Every Friday, available parking spaces will be listed in the building lobbies and basements. If a resident on the waiting transfer list wants one of the listed spaces, they must contact management's office by the close of business on the following business day.
Is there a second for that, please? Second? Alfred's got the second. Discussion? Andy? Jeanette?
Nope.
Okay, anybody in this room? Maitri?
Just to, so they would, if, you're saying that if there's an opening, if
I'll be
someone
right
has
there.
given up their spot, then it would be listed on paper in the management office.
No, no, no.
Transfers, only internal transfers.
Okay, so if someone's, yeah, so if someone wants to move from one location to the
Yes.
other, so we're doing this on,
We're doing this because we're losing a lot of money.
okay,
In the process that's happening now, it takes weeks to get these
To get
transfers
notified,
going.
okay.
And we've seen a loss in revenue in the parking due to this going this way. And Russell and Sabrina came up with this way to rectify it. And this passed unanimously last time.
I have a related question. How many empty spots do we have?
Approximately 20.
Thank you.
so if we had emails eventually for people, we could just email them and say, hey, you're on the contract.
If everyone on the
So
list
now
had
we're doing
emails,
it.
yes.
I'm just trying to figure out the process, if there's a more efficient way.
What'll happen now is, on Friday morning, a notice will go up in the building lobbies and the basements. That will list the spots that are available for transfer, not
So coming and
open.
going, they can read it and
Right.
figure out, okay.
As soon as they see what they want, if they, anybody could apply on the transfer list for
Yeah,
any of
yeah.
these spots, they will, they get in their request, they will prioritize the list by seniority of who was on the
No,
list.
that's fine.
Okay?
That's-
It's just a way of moving this.
Yeah, yeah, no,
business.
that's.
May we vote? I believe so, okay, all in favor? Andy, Jeanette?
Aye. In favor, I'm in favor.
Okay,
Thank you.
Wait, just say one thing.
Can I
Yes, sir.
just ask, the 20 spaces that Russell just referred to, did you mean that we have 20 waiting for internal transfers?
20
20
empty spaces
spaces.
that have to be put on the transfer list availability,
The priority goes to.
Oh, okay,
all right?
right.
Can I make one statement?
Sure, please.
In regards to this, prior to us launching this initiative, every shareholder will receive a memo door to door explaining the new process. We're not just gonna start this Friday.
Okay, we're good? John, you finished?
Yep.
Okay, President's report. I want to begin with this. I didn't know Mary A. Thompson, but she has passed, and I think it would have been my pleasure to know her. She was on the board. She served on the board here. She served on the MRHS board. She's very active in this community for many years in Morningside, and I think she set an example for how cooperatives should interact in a co-op. So I believe Mary will be missed, and I wanted to just bring this to your attention, that this happened. So sorry. All right. Now, composting. The good news. On May 1st, we will be composting. I had a meeting with Alfred, Skip, Russell, Sabrina, the head of New York City Grow, the assistant commissioner of sanitation for the entire New York City, and another young lady who was who's related from the sanitation department with New York City Grow, who interfaces. This is a productive meeting, and this is what we know. We will be purchasing 3 containers that will be kept down on LaSalle and Amsterdam where the sanitation is gonna be kept. Those 3 containers have to have plastic bags, and then we have to buy plastic bags. Plastic bags have to have the letter M placed on every bag. The reason is, this gets counted. They weigh our compost. They wanna know what we're doing. And how the process works is, every day at 4 o'clock, the bag has to be tied. I'm sorry, back one step. Every school day at 4 o'clock, only school days. If the school is out, they don't pick up. If the school is on vacation, they don't pick up. It's only school days. So every school day at 4 o'clock, the bag will be tied, and somewhere between 4 and 8 o'clock in the evening, as long as there hasn't been a tornado, a hurricane, or a snowstorm, they will pick up and take it away. They will dump it in their truck and take it away. We decided on 3 containers because that's approximately the size we needed based on the number of people that initially signed up for composting. It's about 20% of this co-op. We believe this is going to be a long-term relationship, and I think it's going to be very productive. And what's going to happen is Skip Delano is going to lead with the committee on educating the community and holding meetings and other things. The corporation is just going to make sure the containers are there, the bags get in the containers, and they get tied. That's basically all the corporation can do. Everything else has to be through education and participation by the shareholders. We have one more thing. There is a little green container that every apartment may want to have. And what happened at the meeting was it was mentioned that this would be a nice way of putting our food scraps. And by the way, food scraps means even bones and meat, leftover meats. That's part of the food scrap process. I asked David, why isn't this part of the program? And David said, we don't give these away. I said, well, I have to tell you, David. It seems to me that Bloomberg, who wants the whole borough of Staten Island to be composting by the end of the year, and is the 3rd richest man in the United States, could find it possible to purchase composting bins for our kitchens so that we can carry it down to our big bins. So David said, I don't know him well enough. I told David to get to know him because we want it for free. The latest word is that we may be getting 1,000 pails for our apartments, so that you'll have a place to put the scraps, you can walk it down, you can dump it, it'll be just a great experience, okay? So that's what we are with composting, but it'll start on May 1st. Yes?
Number 1, thank you, Larry, I'm very pleased with that. Number 2, if we're at 20%, what do you think of the extra 800 pails? And Sam, my third comment is, my next question is, all summer there's no school there. Are they not going to pick it up for summer? I don't know.
Their summer school goes almost the entire summer. It's the last 2 to 3 weeks it doesn't go. When they do not pick up, our option will be one of 2. We will either tell our shareholders to just dispose of it in their regular household garbage, or they can still bring it down to the composting pails, and we will tie the pails off and throw it into our regular garbage so that it doesn't hang around, because they are not going to pick up on other than school days. All right, and now, the reason why we want the pails is because we thought that if everyone had a nice little pail for their kitchen, it would encourage everyone to participate in composting. It would be like, I got a free pail, I might as well use it. All right? Chi, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is that, but before May 1st, maybe we should have some kind of notice.
Skip is going to take care of all of that.
Okay.
With Skip and I, we've had our discussion, it's all ready to go. There's no problem. We're just waiting for a call back on a few things. As soon as they tell us that, I think we're all set to go. Right, Skip?
Right.
Okay.
He's gonna have a meeting, I mean.
Oh, he's going to have meetings, there's going to be many meetings. It's not going to be one. I believe there's going to be many, many meetings. Okay. Doug.
Why do they only pick up on school meetings?
Because right now, in Manhattan, this is not a citywide program. We are tagging on to a school program. And they want this to be a success because they want to spread this out through the borough of Manhattan. And we're gonna be the showcase, site for them to show that a large community can compost. That's the reason.
They're picking up mostly from schools.
That we're the only non-school in the loop. Okay? Maitri, I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to thank Skip and Liz for doing a lot of groundwork and getting support from the community and really pushing this forward, so thanks. Thank you, and you're okay too.
Oh. Okay, I'm turning the chair over to John. I'm gonna give a long-range planning committee report. John, I'm not a chair of the long-range planning committee.
Oh, you are the.
There you go. So anyhow, in your folders is a document, two-page document, local law 11. This will be included in the flash report and in the minutes of the corporation. This is the first time we've had a thorough accounting of money spent from October 15, 2008 to January 31st, 2013. So, as you look this over, you can see the original contract signed on 10/15/2008 was for $4,983,965. The change orders up to January 31st, 2013 now total $3,782,482.60. So the new contract has now come out to $8,766,447.60. The work completed and stored, this stuff that we own that we haven't used yet, is $7,137,803.03. We've paid Bren $6,606,398.72, and the balance to finish, including the retainage, the 10% retainage, is $2,160,048.88. If you look to the right-hand side at the very top, you'll see the Bren payment is $6,606,398.72. The sheds and scaffolding was $672,000 to date. The non-facade work was $3,110,482.60. If you subtract from the $6,606,398.72, the cost of the sheds and scaffolding, and the non-facade work, the actual pointing of our buildings, the actual pointing is $2,823,916.12. We've had tremendous amount of change orders. Now, there's a further breakdown at the bottom. It takes you through, but the interesting thing for me, it breaks it down for balconies and terraces and roofs and stuff. But the interesting thing is that on page 2, you can see the total safety consulting to date, which is from 5/15/2009. That's the safety guys we had to hire so that we can continue the project. To 12/28/2012, we've spent $490,834.96. That is because we've had to have 2 of these site safety guys on site. We are working to remove that number, or to reduce that number to 1. It should be coming up shortly, and the rest of the project will go with only 1, which will cut our costs down considerably, so that's what we're working on. When you look at the drains, you see the Drain King and Mighty Mechanical have done drain work. This drain work is directly connected to the balcony work where drains had to be replaced. With the balconies, where they came into your apartment, knocked out your wall, put in a new pipe, then went outside on the terrace, and connected drainage. So, this is the one other charge that was unique here is the owner's representative, JMA, and we've paid him so far $32,960, and actually it's been money pretty well spent at this moment. So, this is for information, and this, I've asked Russell to, no matter what happens in the future, that this should be updated every 6 months, and it's an automatic thing. Yes, Chief?
Can I ask a question? No, just want to make sure that the first page, so whatever we paid Brent, and then the new contract sum is 8.7 million?
With
And
the
then-
change orders?
Yeah, with the change orders, but, my point is that in the first page, the table below, which, for the roofs, we have paid so far by the end of January, it's a 1.6 million. That's included in the 8.7
It's
so
included
far.
in the $3,110,482.60 number.
So that means we already
It's the
paid.
non-facade work.
Yes, so that means, it includes the roof, because I think the roof has to be listed really clearly, so people know at the end, if you see the allocated and then not paid yet, there's still for the roofs, $687,000.
What's still
So
owed,
the total is for roofs, is about $2 million.
until you pay it,
I
it
know.
don't matter.
So I just want to make sure that the roofs is 2 million, people knows, and then the rest is.
Gee, you
Yeah.
take one point,
Yeah.
1,649,114.50, and you add 687 to that, that's how you get 2,000,000,
Right, yeah.
2,000,003.
We know
You get
that.
2,000,003.
She's just saying to separate out the two,
Yeah, so
just,
people knows.
yeah, just
How
separate.
much
I
we
think they
spend.
can, I think they'll be able to read the chart. I believe they can read this chart, I don't think our shareholders are incapable of reading it. Yes,
No,
Dan?
they don't.
So one thing, sorry I was in and out during Russell's report on this, I had to deal with an issue, but since we're talking about local law 11, I know Russell, you brought up that there's delays now, maybe because of the weather?
Yes, well, technically, the clock stops during winter, that was
Right.
part of the original change order.
Right.
Last year, we had the luxury of a pretty mild winter, so they did accomplish a lot of work
Yeah.
last winter. This winter, the type of work that they have remaining is roofs. A big portion of it is roofs. Roofs, every time it rains, they're delayed approximately 2 extra days for dry out of the roofs.
But that,
And that cannot,
well, my point is right, I mean, the clock stops, so
Right.
so really, I mean, everything that we get during the winter is bonus.
That's right.
So
Yes.
why would that, you know, but the actual accounting of the schedule should not include any kind of bonus. I mean, that's essentially like the clock stopped and then like they're technically not working. So why would there be any delay related to a colder winter?
okay, what I'm reporting on is what they believe is the reasonable time frame of them completing those buildings and removing the scaffolding. Not the official time frame that would be on their official schedule. I believe that pushes that project out
Way
a little further, 3-4 months. This is more of the realistic, where we are now, where we're gonna complete it.
Okay, so that's the report. You'll all see this, it'll be on the bulletin boards, it'll be in the flash reports, it'll be in the minutes of the corporation. You'll be able to look at it in 3 different ways. Any other question, Marjorie?
Just a quick question, what, for building one,
Do you use that mic, is it
For
on?
building one, what is that, what's the work that's happening on the corner, on the,
Those are the Cobra head lights.
oh, that's.
But we got one,
okay.
but on building 1, we received, in terms of the Cobra head project, 1 Cobra head was free removal. And that's the corner that
That-
faces the
that-
garage,
that
because
faces,
that
yeah.
was a major piece of removal of brick.
Okay.
So Anna told George that that couldn't be counted against the other removals, because that had to come out.
so that brick that's come out and the scaffolding that's been put out is for the Cobra?
There's the Cobra head, and on the ground level, there was some finishing brickwork they had to finish
Okay.
after the scaffolding was removed.
Alrighty, so we're moving along, and we are now up to committee reports. I told you John would be moving like flying tonight. No, I wasn't kidding around. All right. I reassumed the chair. Yes, I reassumed the chair.
What?
Well, technically I did.
Never looked to me or anything.
I always look to you, John. That's not a fair statement.
Can I just, because you mentioned when you talk about local law, just not the brand table, you say it belongs to Long Range Planning Committee? Or it's part of your report?
I gave it as part of the Long Range Planning Committee report. We worked on it. And by the way, thank you for
Yeah, I
reminding me of something. I want to thank Tova Francis for her incredible work of taking all the documents that we procured from Cutzer George Truman Allen and translating it to get it down to this 2-page report. This was a major, major undertaking. And once again, her skill is greatly appreciated.
I just want to point out is that because in the, here,
It's under the President's report.
right, it didn't say.
I did it
Long
under the
Range-
President's report. I'm the President, I'm the Chair of the Long Range Planning Committee. I'm both.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said at the beginning.
I said. Okay. Allison, I think you're up. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Wait, I gotta do this alphabetically. Otherwise Donna whips me. Yvonne, go ahead.
Do I need a mic or can everybody hear me?
Can you hear her on the phone?
Am I okay, Jeanette? Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm making a report for the Bylaws Advisory Committee. For those of you who are not aware, the members of the committee are Jeanette Rodriguez-Morik, Kyla Thomas, and Bradley Colton, Michael Deeman, Doug Simmons, and myself. So there are 3 board members and there are 3 shareholders. The committee was constituted at the November 2012 board meeting after the vote of the shareholders to amend the bylaws committee resolution. After the committee was constituted, we were asked to examine, the committee was asked to examine the bylaws regarding trusts, and in addition to make a proposal to the board for moving to open market resale. So in doing research regarding trusts, we found that there are no bylaws regarding trusts. So later on you'll hear a motion regarding that. Our first meeting was held in January, and we've had 3 subsequent meetings since then. The primary bylaws that are affected by the proposal to change or the proposed change to open market resale are Article 8, Sections 59, 60, and 61. And the committee has been dealing with different issues regarding that are in all of those sections. And the ones that we've been focusing on and working on and having a lot of research and deliberation on are transfer fees, otherwise known as flip tax. Transfer fee is actually the technically correct word, because flip tax is really when you just want to buy a piece of property and flip it quickly to make some money, and we don't do that here. And anyway, we want to use the technical term. We've been discussing the obligations of outgoing stockholders, which you'll find in section 60F. And we've been discussing exemptions from payment of transfer fees, which you'll find in section 61A. And that would be transferred to a spouse or to a family member that's been living with you for 24 months or longer. Including whether or not they should be vetted by the tenant selection committee, or if there should be any vetting at all, any financial vetting. Some other issues we are discussing is if the corporation should have an option to purchase apartments in addition to the right of first refusal. And another item that we will deal with is the tenant selection committee's status, which will be changed to advisory, and eventually all committees will have to be changed to advisory. But if we're working on open market resale, and the tenant selection committee is very much linked to what goes on with that, we would do it at the same time. Now, initially, I think it was thought that we would be able to come to the board with a proposal in order to have this vote take place at the annual meeting. This was another thing that we discussed and we considered. However, we realized that this couldn't happen without violating our own bylaws and the New York Business Corporation law. There are requirements for meetings to present the proposal first to the board of directors, who has to consider it and approve it or send us back to the drawing board. If they approve it, we have to set up meetings with shareholders. But the meetings that we would set up with shareholders, and in the new bylaw, we're actually, we're required, there is no number that set up meetings. But certainly you need at least 2, and probably 3. We would continue the tradition to present to MGCA and have at least 2 other meetings, one in the evening and one on a weekend, maybe in the afternoon, so that as many shareholders as possible could come and hear what the proposal is about. But these would be set up as town hall meetings that would allow the shareholders to give some input on what we've come up with. It wouldn't be just a presentation of, these are the proposed amendments, and this is what you're going to vote on. We want to have input. It's our tradition in this community to have input from shareholders. So actually, if we wound up changing anything as a result, we'd have to have another set of meetings. In addition, there are time issues regarding council's crafting of the legal language of the bylaws. And it's not only the bylaws that have to be amended. The proprietary lease has to be amended, the certificate of incorporation has to be amended, and then there's also the problem of getting everything printed up and distributing materials and ballots. We have a timeline in section, or time constriction in section 8. The shareholders have to receive the information a certain number of days before the vote can take place. Now, that all being said, the committee is aiming to bring its proposal to the board in May. And what we see as a timeline is a possible vote by shareholders in November. That would give the board of directors and the bylaws advisory committee the opportunity and the time to hold the town hall meeting. It would be held in June and or July, and then in September. August, I'm sure, would not be good for many people. And the vote could probably take place in November. But we would also, by the way, recommend that the actual, if the vote passes, if the shareholders want this, it should become effective probably 2 months after the vote, which would be sometime in January. The reason being is that the policy and house rules have a lot of rules in there regarding transfer fees. That's where most of the rules really are. And we wouldn't want them to go through the trouble of putting them in line with a proposition that may not pass. So we want them to have enough time to work on getting those documents in line with the governing documents, which you would be voting, the shareholders would be voting on everything. You have to vote as well with the changes in the proprietary lease and the certificate of incorporation. So that's what we're looking at right now, and we have been working very hard, as Doug will tell you. He's sitting right here. We're doing a lot of research, a lot of deliberation. We've been looking at other co-ops to see how they are treating transfer fees and the other issues that I mentioned. And that's my report. Thank you.
Any questions to that report? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to Allison McDermott.
So I'm Allison McDermott, I'm chair of the Morningside Gardens Elections Committee.
Welcome, Allison.
Again this year and for the last time. Reading off. But I'm pleased to join you guys tonight and present the slate shareholder candidates for running for the board of directors and the elections committee this year. First, I just want to thank my fellow members of the elections committee, Susan St. John Parsons, the vice chair of the committee, Marcia Duffy, Melinda Moore, Joyce Quinn, Meryl Sheldon, and Barbara Williams Henry. They've done just an outstanding recruitment job this year with some wonderful help from others in the community, and they're all working hard on our second election for the year. Thank you, Yvonne. And I also want to thank management, specifically Russell and Tawana Lindsay, for their help again this year in confirming the eligibility of all the candidates very smoothly. And we really appreciate it, the work, and in particular how fast you guys turned that around this year. So in your packets, I think that you've all received, you can see we have 7 candidates for the 3 open slots on the board this year. In alphabetical order, they're John Carter, Lawrence Didona's
correct.
Okay,
That's the Italian one.
Apologies ahead of time for anybody I mispronounce. I'll make sure I get it right at meet the candidates. Marco Hernandez, John Kaffner, Tatiana Leitman, Gabrielle Suleiman, and Jerry Wolbert. And then we have 3 candidates for the 2 open seats on the elections committee this year: Irina Gurvich, Jonathan Lemert, and Jana Titus. And as you heard previously, there are no proposed bylaw changes, and currently there are no other proposals on the ballot this year.
Thank God.
So, we're pleased that both of the elections are competitive, and we'd like to thank all of the candidates for volunteering to run and offering to serve our co-op community. I'm still in the process of confirming the correct legal name for each of the candidates, so there might be small changes in regards to that before the packet that you saw was sent to council. Just to call that out, I just didn't have a chance to do that, before you guys needed to get them for this meeting. And two other things that came up last year, I just wanted to, one other thing that came up last year, I just wanted to proactively announce to folks in the room. There'll be 2 Meet the Candidates events again this year. They'll be held in the recreation room on building 1 as always. The first one will be on Sunday, April 21st from 3 to 5. And the second one will be on Wednesday, April 24th from 7:30 to 9:30. And then the last thing, before we answer any questions, as chair of the elections committee, I have in my apartment all the archives of the elections committee over the years. And as chair, I want to echo what Larry said earlier in terms of Mary Thompson. Her imprint on the elections committee is just completely obvious, and looking through the archives in our community has, among many debts it seems to her, certainly our elections process that we have now. So I just wanted to mention that.
Allison, the motion is that the board of directors approves?
Oh,
So it
yeah, I
comes-
don't have a copy of that.
No,
so
but then,
thank you.
would you
Yeah.
like to?
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Sure, so the proposed motion by the elections committee, is that the board of directors approves the materials for the May 7th, 2013 annual meeting of stockholders, subject to approval by legal counsel.
There was no second necessary. Comes
It
from-
needs to be moved by a board member.
Oh, it needs to be moved by a board member? Okay, who wants to move it? Actually moves it. Doesn't need a second though. We're good. Okay. Any discussion? Phone? No? Good. We're ready to move for a vote. All in favor? The phone?
I'm all set here.
Okay, done. All righty, thank you, Allison. And Allison, you've done a great job this year. It's been a heck of a
It's
year.
not over.
I know. It's a heck of a year. Would Sharon Lockhart Carter like to join the board at the table, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, Cynthia, I'm sorry. Good evening. I'd like to have Cynthia Rock, who's the chair of the Spring Planting Planning Committee, join me.
She can sit right here in this seat.
Sure.
You sit there, she sits there.
Thank you. I would like to first apologize for any confusion by the motion that I sent. I had to submit a motion and did not have the figures, so I couldn't meet the submission deadline, but.
Oh, you did meet the submission deadline,
I
you
did.
didn't meet it with the exact information.
That's exactly right. Thanks. What would I do without you? So would you please take
I'm sure there's a
one-
few people that are thinking that.
Would you please take one and pass it? And would you please take one of these and pass it? And would you pass any extras down to me? I made,
Any, there's some extras, they're going back to you.
Like to be-
Okay.
Oh.
And that is,
thank you.
you, did you have, oh, just one? This is it, this is it. And this goes back this way, right? I'm sorry, did you guys need?
Did everybody get
I
one
think
of
this
these?
way.
Over this
I
way,
didn't
they
realize.
need them.
Okay, so you should have two
Distinct
documents.
documents. These are the two documents.
So you should have two documents.
One with the.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, now you got it, now you got it.
So
We have two
thanks to
documents,
my,
right? Everybody has two documents? Good? Okay.
just want to acknowledge members from the grounds committee, thank you for coming out in support. This, we make this a motion, on behalf of the grounds committee. We believe it is, a unanimous motion proposed by Morningside Gardens Grounds Committee Chair and the Spring Planting Planning Chair, Cynthia Rock. Housing Corporation designate the restoration and remediation of all grounds and landscape which has been damaged as a result of local law 11 work which began in 2009 as capital expenses. Restoration.
Yeah, that should be on.
Restoration to
Occur.
restoration to occur as scaffold is removed from said grounds. Expenses will include the cost of goods and services. The professional design total is $541.25. That includes tax that falls under managerial discretion. Recommendations and proposed solutions for remediation, including soil testing and analysis, $866. That includes the analysis by the horticultural consultant. That also falls under managerial discretion. I also want to say that Russell Jermine has been incredibly supportive and has worked as part of the team throughout this process. The cost of plants, trees, and shrubs, $17,931.50. That includes delivery, a 1-year guarantee, and tax for Building 1, Upper Linden Lane, the plaza between buildings 1 and 2. Labor, which will be gardeners, trained and experienced, chosen by the horticulturist consultant, $4,830. The cost of labor includes the remediation of the soil, the rototilling, the spreading of the mulch, the treating of the damage, and the planting of materials. We've been able to keep that cost down because we will have a group of volunteers who have been working alongside the grounds committee all year long.
Okay, so we have a motion, it has to be made by a board member, correct? But no second necessary. John? Okay, it's been made by John, there's no second necessary, we are now in discussion. Alfred?
I have a couple of points. One is, I know that this is for the restoration and remediation, but I think that we need to ensure that these can be counted as capital expenses, through Mindy Eisenberg-Stark.
We can consult with Mindy, but I believe they could be.
And they probably
because
are,
of
but let's just make
the
sure.
conditions of why it's being done. It's not a normal maintenance.
Mhm.
This is a restoration because of the local law. So definitely we can consult with the accountant on that.
And my larger point is actually with the cost of the plants, trees, and shrubs. Was this bid out to several companies?
We're actually, Richie Cabo, who is the consultant horticulturist, has actually given us an estimate so that we could come to this meeting because we are about 3 months behind the ordering process. And he is pulling together 2 additional bids on all of the plant material because he's very familiar with the stringent requirements, procurement requirements of the city as he works for the city. So we're waiting for that, but we simply could not hold it up for the next month because the nurseries will be empty of material. So we wanted to give you an idea.
Clarification, are you saying he's getting 2 more prices in addition to the set? This is from 2 other garden centers, is that the idea?
Other nurseries and wholesale garden,
Right.
places.
I interrupted you, I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify that.
Right.
Go ahead, Al.
So what you're saying is that he's getting prices based upon a design that he has?
Yes,
Design seems to be part of what we're voting on, so that's already been done.
the design, it falls under the manager's discretion.
Right, the question is,
and
has
that-
the design been done?
Yes.
So we know specifically what materials we're getting.
We know what we would like, but we haven't presented the design to the spring planting planning committee. So I cannot tell you that's exactly what the design is gonna be. I'm not prepared to present that design to you at this point until we present it to the committee and they decide.
Okay, part of my issue is, I know that you say he's getting other bids,
Yes,
but the way we tend to work based on our bylaws is
yes.
think I think maybe I've confused, something here. We're talking about the cost of a rose bush. And so, since it's his design, and these are the items he's chosen, he then says, this is what I'd like to purchase from you for the design I've created. And then he has to get 3 separate prices.
So I understand that.
So I'm not sure what you're asking.
But what
I think what you're saying
is what comes to us.
is that the way it's being presented to the board, is that he is getting the 3 bids. But I think, unless I'm wrong, and what Alfred's saying is wrong, shouldn't we be getting the bids? Or do they use him as an agent to get the bids? What's the correct way, Russell?
You could do it, actually, I've seen it done in 2 different ways. Something like CTA, our architect, can go out for bid for specific things with other vendors on our behalf. Everything would be submitted back to us, although through that person, for the committee's review and management's review as well. So that, using an agent as an intermediary between the vendors is not unusual.
And he's giving us written bids, right? There's no question. Yeah, and it'll be exactly match up. It's 17 rose bushes, 22 trees, et cetera, et cetera.
The exact same Excel spreadsheet will be presented with all
3
of
times.
them.
Any other questions regarding this? Yes, Chief.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that all this, the motion includes everything here. It only covers.
It actually only
building
includes.
1,
The only.
and then the upper Linden Lane, like, that's between building 5 and 6, that's what we call between.
Yeah, I'm gonna let,
Wait.
I'm gonna let.
One
Summer
second,
explain.
one second, everybody, 1 second. The actual motion deals with the last 2 items, because the other 2 items are covered. Russell can do that within his authority, that's not a problem.
Yeah, but that's a.
That doesn't need a motion, that
Okay.
doesn't need it'll be, he can do it, and then we can convert it on the, when we do the accounting, it converts to, capital. But the point is, he can spend that money, it's in his purview to do that, it's in his spending expense. The real thing you're voting on is the $17,931.50 and the $4,830, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're clear?
Yeah.
But I think I heard you
But
that.
I think she's asked a
I
question.
haven't finished.
No, I know.
my
Oh,
question.
okay, but let me just find out something. Is there someone on the phone who wants to ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to you in a second. All right, go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, now it's, my question, yeah, I think she's going to explain the area is covering for
Okay.
this,
I think that Sharon's written it in the motion, but I made a graphic so that
Oh,
it's perfectly
good.
clear to
Yeah,
everybody.
that's
It's
good.
kind of small, so I could pass it around and send it to you to show you.
The area
It's just building one,
Just
the area in green.
Okay.
So it's the all sides of building 1, the northern part of Linden Lane by the garage, and the
Oh,
triangle
okay.
in front of building 1 going towards building 2.
No.
Excuse me?
No.
It's
No,
just
that's
building
okay.
1, just building 1. It's
Each
just
building
where-
has,
Oh, that's
I believe each building has its own requirement. These 2 buildings have this requirement. Other buildings will have different, less work or similar work. Am I explaining that correctly?
Yeah, it's real important to understand that, it's real important to understand that building 6 and building 1 have unique property. So we're not looking at replicating this for 6 buildings, fair enough? Partly because we have Linden Lane, to the west of building 1, that gets incorporated in this cost, behind building 1 and also on the garage side. So I just wanna be clear, cause this can be confusing. Thanks, Chief, for helping me. When you look at the garage steps on Linden Lane, if you think from the garage steps to LaSalle Street, that's the area we're talking about, on the garage side as well as the back of building 1, coming completely around building 1, including the plaza between buildings 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you.
Andy?
Yeah, this last item says labor, I shared an email with Sharon, she clarified to me in my email that this is not, MHHC labor, but maybe the language to say contracted labor or something.
Yeah, I think that's my other question. the labor,
This would be
I
fine
just
for
want
this.
to make sure that, your committee talked about nothing to do with our employees' labor, right?
That's exactly correct.
It's volunteer and then contractor.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So I hope somewhere if you add something, make it clear
Okay.
in the motion. Just
Labor is
like
gonna be now called contract labor.
yeah, whatever.
Contract labor, it's
and
done.
volunteer, that's
Yeah,
fine,
that's
yeah,
all my
that's
problem.
good.
Okay?
Jeanette?
I think it was already clarified, I mean, Sharon, you were going over the whole area, that the grant total, what is the grant total, $20,000?
Yeah, about,
It's about 22,000.
yes,
It's 24,168.
yeah, plus all the managerial.
So that's to cover that, the living area that you just eliminated, right?
I'm sorry, I could not hear you.
I'm sorry, that is to cover, that cost is to cover the restoration of the ground, that you just eliminated. The Linden Lane,
Yes.
the area of ground building one,
Yes.
and then apply the between building one, yeah, that was my question, okay.
Yes.
All right?
Thank you.
John?
Yes, I think you've done a great job. I appreciate you being very proactive as the scaffolding's coming down, because I know our grounds are taking a big beating. I think it's very moderate, the cost, so I'm gonna vote in favor of this.
Just one thing, Sharon. This gentleman has to understand that in the future, we may be dropping scaffoldings down the building again, and there has to be a certain amount of feet from the wall of the building.
Exactly.
Out, and so his design, if it hasn't included that clearance around the building,
Very important.
it's, because destruction of this stuff again, we're
Yeah.
gonna try to avoid.
Thank you for reminding me, about that, Larry. We will make sure,
I think this is certainly your feet, right, Russell, that have to come off the building?
and,
Russell give it to
and
you.
again, Russell is actually part of the spring planting committee.
I can't wait till he starts getting home.
Yeah, I mean, he's so tired of us running in his office, but he's been very, very gracious. And so he will give us all the specs and determination.
Good. Doug?
So, just so I understand this, you're saying this 17,900 under the cost of plants and so on, that's gonna now be subject to modification based on these other bids, possible modification
Exactly.
based on these other bids that'll be coming in.
In addition, it will be subject to the spring planning when they look at it. So it's not, could go,
So you're gonna get these two other bids and the committee and Russell are gonna make a decision which one to pick,
yes,
but it won't be more than this, obviously.
not to exceed, this is the,
Not to exceed $22,761.50. That would be the motion. Not to exceed that
Maybe we
number.
should put that in, not to exceed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not to exceed.
For all of it.
No, for the last two items. The first two items are covered separately.
Okay.
It's the last two items, not to exceed more than 22,000, look, you should round it up, $22,800. All right, so 23,000, okay, not to exceed 23,000.
And so then there will be more proposals like this as more scaffolding comes down and you're working your way through the.
exactly, what we're hoping is that we might be able to start remediating the soil on building, 2 and hopefully some of what we have purchased here will be able to go toward that. And I don't know what's gonna happen with building 6.
Expecting June, so that's the.
And when are we expecting building 2?
I think April.
End of April.
See, it's really important that we know, so because what happens with plant material in the city, now maybe upstate it's different, but the nurseries empty out their coffers of plant material. And so we need to know early enough that we can plan for building 2, and purchase and come back to you if we would need to come back to you next month, utilizing
The same idea.
the same idea, with more plant material. The good news is that we have worked very hard to make sure that these are perennials and that it's cost saving all around and keeping the campus as green as possible all year round as well.
So, to clarify the motion, we're talking about a motion that deals with expenses, will include the cost of goods and services for cost of plants, trees, and shrubs, and labor, not to exceed $23,000. And this is a capital expense. We believe it will be a capital expense. The other costs are already covered, but we don't have to approve those amounts. They're talking about $1,300, that's easy, that's nothing. Okay, are we good? Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, we move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye. I approve.
Good, it's unanimous, amazing,
Thank you
fabulous.
very much.
On a roll.
We have a little, we anticipated that you would love this.
You're giving us gifts?
Yeah, we
Oh,
are.
good.
Just wanna let you know that, quite, a while ago, one of the grounds committee members suggested, we are a bird pass-through, which means that we're part of the great migration of birds that go from Central Park on their way. And we asked Joyce, is Joyce here? No. We asked Joyce Hyen, who is an expert, and she has drawn up a gorgeous, Andy, I'm so sorry you're not here. A gorgeous, this is the first edition, Birds in Morningside Gardens. And she also did the illustrations of the birds. So we haven't presented this to the committee yet, so we couldn't give you a copy, but just to show you, this is the first edition of Birds in Morningside Gardens. And we hope to be able to make copies available, and we've made some, we're trying to make money, so we've made some greeting cards, take one and pass them. Some of them are birds, some of them are flowers, but,
You want money right now?
I wanna take orders, but the point is that we're looking at ways of raising money, also for the In Honor Of campaign, which as of today is up to $550 for, trees and shrubs and gifts, and I believe Lottie has a lot more money for me, but I'm just gonna wait and see. We've also given you,
Very nice.
a description of Richie Cabo, who is the horticulturist consultant, who, by the way, was a horticulturist for Mayor Bloomberg at Gracie Mansion for 2 years. And he also was responsible for restoring the 9/11 survivor tree. I had a clip to show you, but I've run out of time, so I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, Sharon, for a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cynthia, thank you for your help. That was great. All right, we're now to the last committee report. John, you're on.
Okay, System Construction Committee, has a motion put forth by the committee. It has to do with the alteration agreement. Just a little bit of history. Somehow this, looking over the current alteration agreement, fell into the hands of System and Structures. They passed it on to House Rules to see if House Rules would deal with it. House Rules said we have no idea what this is about, put it back to Systems and Structures. And so at the last meeting, I said, why are we trying to write a new alteration agreement? These are boilerplate things. Why don't we ask Cooper Square to share with us some of the alteration agreements that some of the other properties use? And so the motion is moved by John Buscarella, second by Joanna Kapner.
No, actually, the motion is moved, that Cooper Square. That's the motion. Go ahead, start from there.
Okay, that SNS asks Cooper Square Realty to supply 3 examples of the alteration agreement used by other properties managed by Cooper Square Realty to be reviewed by the SNS Committee, House Rules Committee, perhaps Bylaws Committee, and MHHC Attorney. It is requested that at least one come from a building of similar
Is there, we don't need a second, it's moved by a board member, so we're in good shape. Any discussion about this?
So the idea is, so that I'm clear, is that we get copies of these other alteration agreements and review them?
Yes, what the ultimate goal is to replace the current alteration agreement with a more up-to-date one that's a little more fully flushed out.
All right, anything else? Nothing? We're gonna move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's done.
Thank you.
We've gotten through the committee reports, and it's now just about in order. I'm just pleased because John made me a bet on winning. And that's important. All right, we're up to board member motions. First motion is Chi Choi. Yes, it is.
Thank you.
It's alphabetical.
So in fact, if I'm
Take
using
it,
my
give us a
Chinese
in the
one,
back,
will
I'm
be the
sorry.
last. You want?
1 second, Chi, 1 second, please. No, you wouldn't know that. You don't do that. Okay,
Okay, I'll use my mic. So, here's my motion, I'll read and then we'll discuss. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Whereas MHHC's bylaw Article 6, Section 51, System and Structures Committee, amended 2009 states, the System and Structures Committee shall assist management in monitoring the condition of the entire physical plant and shall recommend to the management any course of action commensurate with the best engineering practices that best meet the needs of the corporation. The committee shall assist management in the following tasks. Number 1, researching and identifying and recommending to management and the board of directors appropriate consultants to facilitate the development and the implementation of proposed projects relating to the physical plant. 2, reviewing, evaluating, and recommending changes regarding requests for proposals and invitations to bid that are to be sent to contractors, architects, engineers, and consultants for projects relating to the physical plant. 3, evaluating bidders' responses to requests for proposals or invitations to bid and making recommendations to the board of directors regarding the choice of selected bidder. 4, reviewing and making recommendations for the repair, renovation, and or improvement of the physical plant. With the express authority of management and the board of directors, the Systems and the Structures Committee may meet with contractors, review contracts before execution, and or monitor projects for the repair, renovation, and or improvement of the physical plant. Whereas management and the System and the Structures Committee have been working diligently on the interior LED lighting project, which is expected to cost more than $500,000. And whereas at the February 2013 board meeting, at the direction of the board president, management submitted motions, though they were withdrawn at the last minute, for board consideration to approve vendors for the interior LED lighting project, which were in direct conflict of System and Structures Committee recommendations. And whereas the February 2013 board meeting had on the agenda and as a System and Structures Committee report, but the committee chair was notified at the last minute not to present its recommendations at that board meeting. Though its materials were in the board meeting packet, therefore be it resolved that the board directs the board president and management to follow MHHC bylaws Article 6, Section 51, that any management resolution concerning the interior LED lighting project and any other capital project concerning the physical plant of MHC that will total more than $25,000 in expense must be presented with a recommendation from the System and Structures Committee. That's
Chi, it needs a second. 3 seconds. Go ahead, Chi, you can speak to it.
Yeah, I'm talking about this because at the February board meeting, before that meeting, we had, the board package had System and Structures Committee's 3 motions. And at the same time, there is like a management recommendation. I had questions. And then during the discussion via emails, I already asked the question. I said, it's really very confusing that for the same LED project, and then it looks like there are parallel working tracks. One is from management, the other is from the committee, System and Structures Committee. So, but I don't know, but on the day of the board meeting, and then the board members got a notice saying that both motions were withdrawn. So for that, I think the proper way should be, like since the System and Structures Committee has already put their motions into the board packet, it should be presented at the board. If the board thinks that's not the right time to discuss or to vote on it, and then at that meeting, we can agree not to vote on those motions and then withdraw. It's not just by one person to decide whether the committee's motions should be discussed at the meeting or not. So I think that's the purpose of this motion, because I think also my other concern is that, like last month, the board voted for the exterior lighting design motion. That work was really good because it worked, management worked with System and Structure Committee. And then the recommendation is from the management, but the System and Structures Committee, they know about this one. It seems it's a combination of proposal, so which the board approved. I hope the interior lighting, this project should be doing the same thing. The way I got really concerned is like management working on one track, and the System and Structures Committee is working on another track. They just can't combine all those. And then we can have like the motions and then just being withdrawn by one person or something. The board should decide, the committee. So a lot of motions come from the committee, and then the board can say, okay, maybe the committee, we should send back to the committee. The committee can work with the management, and then the next month will come for better recommendations. That's the purpose of this motion.
Yvonne?
Okay, I don't need the mic again? Okay. I speak against this motion because it requires the board president to submit to a committee, thereby giving authority to a committee over the president and by extension, the entire board, which is a clear violation of both our own bylaws and the New York Business Corporation law. It also would violate, in the same way that the management must report to the committee certain things. I think that the whereas that was regarding, you just spoke about it, Chief, about the email, is inaccurate because the president notified the entire board by email on the morning of February 26th that there were errors in the report, and that in fact it was not the president that requested that it be removed from the agenda, but that the officers had asked the president to remove it from the agenda and everything connected to lighting until those errors could be corrected. And no one challenged it at the time. Let's see, that would be including you and the mover of the motion. It is also unwarranted because the bylaw already allows the Systems and Structures Committee to assist management, and it allows it to act with the express authority of management or the board of directors.
Dan?
Well, first, number one, I don't know how this, just responding to Yvonne, I don't know how this submits the board to a committee or the president to a committee of anything. I think this is board, it's the board's that, you know, it's put on the agenda, and it's the board's decision what to do with that. But I also just wanna ask, you know, I mean, this has been a, you know, quite a concern for a while, both in the process and on the substance. And what we found out was that basically a winning bid was presented, in this packet for our vote, from management. Supposedly, you know, but that was not, but then we also found out that there were two other bids.
You have to stick to the motion, Dan.
This
You
is
have-
the motion.
You
This
have
is
to
the motion.
stick to the motion, Dan.
This is absolutely pertinent to the motion.
Dan, you have to stick to the motion.
I'm not saying anything that's out of line.
Yes,
I'm
you
not
are,
saying anything
Dan.
that's
I-
in closed
I'm-
session.
Dan?
No, this is.
It's not in a closed session. Stick to the motion.
The motion-
What's the words in this motion? Stick to it, please. That's all I'm asking you to do.
This is giving back.
Excuse me, Maitri. I'm asking you to stick to the motion,
I
Dan.
am sticking to the
To
motion.
the words in this motion,
I'm
look
not
for
gonna
what's in
repeat
this
the words
motion.
in this motion.
No.
I'm gonna explain just like nobody else is. Yvonne is not sticking to the words in this motion. We're explaining our position.
Yes, she did.
As it relates to
I'm
this
sorry.
motion.
Dan,
This
you-
motion
you-
resolves
I
that
said-
you,
Dan,
that you follow the bylaws,
Dan.
and that projects be brought to, you know, with an
That's
estimate
fine.
recommendation.
You're sticking to the
I'm
motion.
speaking to this right now.
Then
okay?
speak to that
And I'm
motion.
saying, this motion, because the incident at hand.
There's no
that-
incident.
There's a specific incident at hand that brings forth this motion. That was this meeting at which you presented a recommendation from management without the S&S committee's
There was no
recommendation.
presentation.
There was no
There was
presentation.
no,
There
you
was
just
also
said
no
I
other bids
presented
that
it.
were-
You said I
It was-
presented
it was
it, that is
withdrawn.
wrong,
You
Dan.
withdrew it.
That
was
is
in the
wrong,
packet.
Dan.
It
I
was in
did
the
not
packet.
present, Dan, you are wrong. I would like you to be accurate. I presented nothing. It wasn't in my report, it wasn't in my words, it was in management's report. I presented nothing.
Well, let me ask a question to you and to Russell. What were you thinking when you presented this without S&S recommendation and without the other bids that were, that for the board to consider spending $500,000? What were you thinking?
It has nothing to do with this motion. So now we're gonna go back to my ruling. You are out of order. Speak to the motion.
Yeah, I'd like to hear this too.
But there's plenty of time. We have a lot of motions coming up. This is out of order.
I disagree.
Well, that's okay. You have a right to. But the chair has ruled Dan out of order. Now, is there anyone else who wants to speak to this motion?
I'm raising my hand, I don't know how to do it.
I hear you.
I can speak?
Yep.
Okay, so I would like to first respond to Yvonne and agree with Dan, there's nothing here about anyone ceding authority, this is a recommendation, but I do see that there's a lot of material here in the whereas, and I would offer a friendly amendment, that we strike everything but the last paragraph, we change the last paragraph, say new, that any matter or resolution concerning any capital project concerning the physical plans of MHHC that will total more than $25,000 expense must be submitted for recommendation from the S&S committee at least 1 month before being moved at a board meeting. Because I don't think we should require, I mean, maybe the S&S committee will not act quickly enough. That should not prevent things from happening. But I think we should require that for these big projects that management submit their plans to the S&S committee, give the S&S committee an opportunity to provide a recommendation, not to overrule anyone, but to provide a recommendation.
All right, so let's go over what it is you're suggesting, and it has to be seconded. What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that we strike everything with the last paragraph and we change the words in the last paragraph to strike out the specific, for instance, the interior LED lighting project, because I think that specific is not that important because.
Well, I need your words, Andy.
So I would strike the interior LED lighting project and, then I would strike the word other. Then instead of presented with, I would say, my suggestion is submitted for, so submitted for recommendation. And then at the very end, I would add.
Andy?
I'm taking a presented with A to submitted for recommendation.
Yeah. From the S&S committee, and then I would send at least 1 month before being moved at a board meeting.
Say that, the last
At
part?
least 1 month before a board meeting?
The idea, and I'm not sure if my language will look like, at least 1 month before the management resolution is moved at our board meeting.
Okay.
Someone's gonna have to read that.
I think I got it.
Okay.
Can I say something?
I got it. I think I have it. Wait, I'm gonna read it, and Andy's gonna correct me. That's more important than anybody speaking right now. I believe you want this to read this way. Resolved, that the Board of Directors directs the Board President and Management to follow MHHC Bylaw Article 6, Section 51, comma, that any management resolution concerning any capital projects concerning the physical plan of MHHC that will total more than $25,000 in expense must be submitted for recommendation from, or to, no, recommendation to,
Sure, that sounds better.
to the SNS committee at least 1 month before presentation to the board. Is that your motion?
That's my friendly amendment for this motion.
Well, it's either a friendly amendment or it's a motion. Is it a friendly amendment?
No, I think.
She doesn't want it. Is it your motion?
Hold on, she didn't even get a chance to answer,
Yeah,
Larry.
can I say something?
Yeah.
Yeah, as Andy, I appreciate your, amendment, but I think maybe we do this way. Vote for my motion, I'm sure probably it will fail, that's fine. And then you can present your motion again, and then we can, because it's related. And then, but before we do that, I want to continue to say that I think the good way for the MHC conduct any business, especially for capital projects, I'd like to see management. The management has been working really well with different committees, even with SS committee. But I just don't know why in this special project, there's a confusion, conflicts there. So I just want to present all the big projects is management work with the committee, and then they review bids, they go out for bids, review bids, and then come together with recommendations to the board. So my motion, I believe, address that issue. So if not, majority board members do not agree with this motion, that's fine, but I think this motion has to be voted on first.
Okay, Andy, I have to alert you to the process. If
I
you
agree
do
with
not.
that. I agree with you, that's fine.
No, I want to alert you to the process. If you do not make your motion and it is not seconded, when she's motion is finished, this whole process is over and we go to the next topic. So it's your choice whether or not you want to present your substitute motion. That's what you have to decide, Andy.
And you can do it next time.
It's fine with me, but tonight it ends it. Andy, what do you want to do?
I will withdraw my substitute motion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments?
Yes, hold on a second. This last whereas clause. I just looked this up, that the board, the board president must follow the bylaw and any resolution concerning the LED lighting project.
And
Must be presented with a recommendation. So the idea is to board, basically management and the president to consult with the SNS committee. Is that what the idea behind the committee is?
not really consult, they should work together. They work together because that's all the other projects have been working, like camera project we used to have, and then this year's exterior lighting, they work so well. But just this interior lighting, I don't know the specifics because I'm not really on that committee, but I just feel really concerned about the process. So that's why I just want to, everybody knows our bylaw says, and then the two work together, and then for this very important issue, like project.
Okay, so the motion is on the page, it's the entire page.
Should be an and in between, that's
Yeah,
what it's
and-
all.
I'm sorry, Dan,
Where?
please
Should
say.
just be an and, it looks like a typo between, after section 51, the second of the last paragraph.
So second paragraph.
Section 51, and that any management resolution.
Okay.
Fine, Betsy,
Yeah,
that's
fine
fine.
for a medical.
We'll put an and there, but that's the way it reads, just the way it reads, with no other corrections, straight up and down. Having heard all the debate,
No.
Can I say?
No, I'm sorry, Doug, your
Can I say
turn.
one thing I was here?
I didn't see Doug's hand, I'm sorry.
Well, I just put it up. I agree that, we should hear from SNS on this LED lighting.
Yeah.
He's
Doug?
getting a mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes,
I agree that we should hear from SNS on the interior lighting project. I think we gotta deal with that in some way tonight, but I can't support this motion, cause I think it just goes too far policy-wise, so, for that reason, I can't vote for it.
Ditto.
All right, so we are now moving to a vote. All in favor of this motion, raise your hands. 3 in the room. Jeanette, are you for it? Doug, repeat it again, please, for Jeanette. He's got the